It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood, and it doesn't matter where I am, I choose that it's gonna be a beautiful day. Now, whether the weather cooperates with me or not, that's another story. So, grab your coffee or tea and come hang out with me. I don't know what you guys like first thing in the morning or how many cups of coffee it might take to get you going. But as always, I'm showing up authentically and being real with you guys. So today, I'm going to call myself out. I'm going to call myself out this morning, as well as calling out the human race in general. Seriously. But me too. I'm involved in this. I'm holding accountability for myself for this too. So many of us tend to forget things like the lessons that we were taught that we thought we had learned, right? We thought we learned those because how some lessons we have to learn things, we have to learn them the hard way. You guys know what I'm talking about. You do. And sometimes we forget those lessons, even though we thought they were ingrained in us and just became second nature to us. But it's not true. Some of us have a harder time remembering things, right? And keeping going with the lessons that we learned. So just like I shared this morning when I shared about the verse of the day, when I shared from Proverbs from so Luke 16:10 this morning being the verse of the day. You know, I shared about that's just like us being the baby, right? Being that baby that is having to learn, right? Have to get strength in the legs so that we can stand up, right? We have to get the strength in our legs. So when one thing has to happen before another thing's can happening before another thing, and we need to learn each of these steps and have the building blocks and create that foundation so that we're able to move on to the next thing. But sometimes now as adults, right, we've forgotten that we had to learn to have get the strength in our legs. And then we had to learn the balance, right? Getting some balance before we could take steps. And it took a few steps, it took some time for us to try to do that, get our balance and fall on our butt, before we could really start walking on our own. And that's a lesson that every single one of us had to learn as a baby. But those things slip our mind that there's certain steps that we have to go through. And in order to have the things that we want to have, it's the same kind of process. And so many of us forget. So that's why right now I'm saying that, God's looking at us now with everything that's going on in the world and just shaking his head, saying, "Oh, you foolish children. I thought you would have learned by now." And it really, when I look and see, and when I looked what's going on in the news this morning, and who's being elected into different positions, and it's scary. It is really scary. God shaking his head. Oh, you foolish children. I have to take a sip of coffee on that one. Remember, I'm owning this too. I'm owning this to myself. The lessons that we would think we have learned and would know by now. So, risers, that's why when I shared this morning, it made it clear to me. It really made it clear to me that some of us don't learn by skirting issues or around things. Some of us, you have to be more blunt and straight to the point about things, right? I know other people can agree with me on this, that sometimes, you got to be flat out. That's what it is. This is the black and this is the white of it. No skirting it. No telling stories about it. This is what it is. So that's why it came to me this morning when I was sharing Because realizing that some people struggle figuring out parables, like God's word is shared with us in the Bible. A lot of it is through parables and stories. And some of us might struggle with that harder than others. Some of us might need it like right straight out, give us the black and white of it, with that. So so why this morning when I shared in Proverbs of the day, from Proverbs of the day, I reading through it and then I'm like, what would give us the more black and white of it? And so that we can all learn something from it and in me, right? And so that I can really absorb because I hunger for God's word and I want to learn from it. And I want to be able to use it in my life on a daily basis so I can put it into action in my what I do in my walk in life. So in Proverbs 5 today, verses 1 through 6, using replacing where it says the immoral woman and replacing that with just sin in general, right? Any sin in general can be a seductress to us. It can affect us, right? It can be dangerous. It can affect us negatively. It can destroy our lives. That's the same. If you go through and read it, it's the same thing is what they're sharing. You know, my son, if you mess with an immoral woman, these are things that can happen with you and to you. And that's the same thing. If you replace the immoral woman with sin in general, and it doesn't matter which sin it is. One sin can lead to another sin, can lead, so on with that, and it can be destructive to our lives. It doesn't matter whether it's drugs or alcohol, whether it's gambling, whether it's any type of addiction, you know, any sin, right? Any sin, lying, right? One lie can lead to another. So really thinking about this. And some of us, again, need it out in the black and white right in front of us. No ands, ifs, or buts, no confusion. But that's what it is. And with what we have going on in the world today, I really think that it's time to stop sugarcoating things and say, this is it, folks. This is what we're facing. This is what's happening. And we know I leave it to, I take it to God. I leave it at his feet. His will be done. His will be done. But I want more of us in heaven with him when this all comes to being said and done. So I want to be there and I want as many of you guys there with me as possible too. Okay, risers. This is a coffee morning, right? So continue, continue to battle the challenges that come up against you. Rise above them and have a great day.